Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 9 of season 61 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. The playoffs are upon us, and they begin here at Talladega Superspeedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman, and Michael, we finally got the regular season over with. 13
Regularly?
drivers are going to be running for the championship here, and only 2 races to lock yourself into the round of 8. So, what are you looking at? You looking to win your way in, or are you looking for those max points between 2 races?
Yeah, you always can put yourself in a position to win. It's always the best part there, but your main goal would always be max points. You want to get the max points you can, and if you can get a win, then go for it. But honestly, I would have to say max points between 2 races.
As mentioned, 13 drivers making their way into the playoffs, 12 drivers getting in via top 10 in points, a number of our former winters of our
Winters?
former winners intermingled in there, and then one driver made their way in outside of the top 12, but his victory counted towards a playoff spot, that being Tim Knopfsker. As we take a look at said playoff points coming into this one, obviously the advantage to Joe DeSpirito winning the regular season championship, got those bonus points towards his credit, so he has 6 points over Grant Wesley, 9 over Rodney Sullins, Josh Metallic 12 back, a number of former winners right there in DeSpirito, Wesley, and Metallic. Chuck McClure, the most recent winner, jumping up with his bonus points to 5th in overall points. Now, there is one driver currently that we're keeping tabs on his situation right now. He's en route back to his house as we're getting close to the green flag coming out, and that's Jeremy Jeffries. We have been told if he's able to get into the server, get on track, and complete a lap before lap 5, they will get him all of his laps back. But if he does not come in by the time we complete that 5th lap, Michael, that is a huge deficit that Jeremy Jeffries is going to have to dig himself out of. He's going to have to hope for a lot of cautions to get some lucky dogs, get back in the lead lap, or at least a race of attrition to be able to pick up some points and not suffer a dead last finish this evening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with the trend that these cars have been going on lately, that we don't really get a lot of caution, so not very many opportunities to get those laps back.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think we've had a total of 2 or 3 cautions in the last 3 or 4 races, so it has definitely been all about
Uh,
execution on pit road. And we
and
talked with some.
while we wait, Seth, real quick, I just want to say, could throw it to you. I got to step out real quick for something very important.
Yep, bring me back a slice of pizza as well, please. Uh,
Okay.
but as we're getting ready here for this race, we ended up talking with drivers at the conclusion of the regular season finale last week about did they feel that the trend was going to continue here with the long green flag runs and pit road being all the more important as it has been leading down to the playoffs beginning. And a lot of them said yes. A lot of them felt that the trend was going to continue, that it was going to be more about creating the success for yourself in the race rather than relying on the misfortune of others. We'll see if that is going to be the case here. Last year, Talladega was the place where everything basically took place in regards to the entire season's pivotal points. It was the season opener, it was where the regular season finale was, it was where all of the elimination races were for each respective round, and it was ultimately where the championship was decided. It's the precursor race here this season as everything will be taking place in regards to the eliminations and the eventual champion at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. We'll be whittling it down from 13 drivers to 8 next week. In another 3 weeks' time, then we'll whittle it down from 8 to our final 4. And then, of course, the championship is decided in a 2-race finale. Let's not forget that as well. It's not a one-and-done system. It's 2 races, the compiling of points between Talladega and Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway as to who wins the championship. And we've ended up seeing it come down as late as last season to 1 point for said championship. Going to be interesting to see a lot of big names, a lot of former champions that have made their way here into this playoffs this season. Joe DeSpirito, multi-time former champion. Same for Bob Seminara. Josh Metallica, former champ. Grant Wesley has won a total of 3 championships in the last 5 seasons, and he's in this, as well as Brian Schilling, another former champion in his own right. We are going to let you guys know as well, since there's a bunch of stuff that's currently going on in regards to trying to hold out as long as they could to be able to give the allotted time necessary to Jeremy Jeffries to be able to get in. We're not going to be able to give you the starting lineup here tonight. They're going to go immediately to the random qualifying and then are planning to go immediately to the green flag where they'll grid up. So it didn't give us enough time to be able to have the grid up to be able to read it off for all of you, but we will definitely keep tabs on where the 13
Well,
playoff contenders are.
why don't you read it now? They've already qualified. They're in happy hour.
How
So
about
let's
you
go and
read it?
How about it's your job?
Gives your pizza some time to cool. Go for it.
Nope, you go ahead.
I can't bring it up. I don't have the list in right now. We're in
Okay.
full screen, my guy.
That's right.
I like how the way you said
All I'll
that.
say is
That's
Craig Hagley is on the
right.
pole, and Riley Coate is in second, and I out-qualified you.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, there was a Disney character that said it the way you said? That's right. And now I can't think of who it
Ursula.
was.
It was Ursula.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Life full of tough choices, isn't it?
All right, so you mentioned about Hagley and Coate there on the front row. We can kind of visibly give you the lineup here as they currently are gridding up on pit road. Josh Metallic will be the highest starting of the playoff contenders. He'll be third alongside of playoff driver Chuck McClure. Looks like Bob Seminara, another playoff driver, is going to be row 3 with Terry Bombard. Jeremy Jeffries, he made it. He's going to roll off 7th alongside of Milt Surratt. Then it looks like that's Jason Scheck, I believe, that is going to complete the top 10 with... Can't make out whose car that is. We'll see who they are as they roll by here.
Will we, though?
Oh, it's the Texaco car. That's Denny Carroll in the 41.
It's the Traxico car.
The Traxico? What's that, Traxxas and Texaco together?
Yep. It's an offspring of Texaco.
Oh, okay.
Because we haven't been cleared to say Texaco. We said it like 6 times already.
Lawsuits, here we come. So, obviously, the highlight here tonight, next week, going to be on the 13 playoff contenders, but there's also, I believe, a total of 21 cars by my last count that are not in the playoffs, and they just want to finish out the season with a victory or as many checkered flags as they can garner before the end of this season in preparation for season 62. So, you know, a lot of times we talk about the proverbial X factors. There's a lot of X factors when it comes to the close quarter racing of super speedway style racing, with the championship potentially hanging in the balance.
And let's not to mention this, you know, the cars that they're driving here too, with their hit boxes and everything too. Got to be a little extra careful there. But we've seen 3 wide. We've seen in practice, actually, believe it or not, earlier in practice, we saw these drivers like using the upper high lane right next to that wall and the lane right below that the white line on the top groove there. So I wonder if we'll see any of that tonight.
And, you know, obviously, with a new mod, drivers not having a whole lot of experience week in, week out of running with the Aero 88 cars, we expected in the early going of the season there were going to be some growing pains, drivers having to kind of go to school. In the fact that we've, as documented, had very little cautions in the last 3 or 4 races, I think is a testament to the fact that they have kind of figured it out. They've kind of realized what the capabilities of what the do's and don'ts of this particular mod, and that's why we've seen the green flag racing that we have, and it basically ultimately coming down to execution on pit road. What are we in for here tonight, though? The playoffs are set to begin for 13 drivers. They look to lock themselves into the round of 8 as the green flag is in the air for Craig Hagley and Wiley Coate. Let's go playoff racing in the Tally Challenge.
Wake me up before you go. Very interesting. I forgot to turn off my best line, so...
Tell the truth. Do you use the optimal racing line when you're super speedway racing?
Not on super speedways.
Nope, me either. Wherever my car wants to go, that's the optimal racing line. Craig Hagley gonna go out to the lead clear with Josh Metallic. It'll be interesting to see here with the playoff drivers how much emphasis they put on getting to the front to be able to lead a lap. That bonus point could be very important by the time we get to the elimination race next week.
Yeah, it will be. Absolutely. Points are everything, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come away with what after the first race.
Looks like 32 drivers took the green flag here, so that's pretty much as many points that are on the table to be gained or lost. And
Couple
remember
of
when we showed you
bonus points
the
too.
huh?
Don't forget about your bonus points.
Yeah, bonus points for most lap led. I believe there's also bonus points that drivers get if they end up winning the
Oh,
race.
who was the other person that we were waiting to get in here? Was it JT Mayhew?
No, Jeremy Jeffries, and he did
Oh,
make it.
sure.
He made it. He rolled off the grid. I think it was from 7th place, 4th on that inside line. So
Oh, yeah, there he is.
very
I thought for
fortunate
some
for
reason I
him.
thought it was JT Mayhew. I was like, oh, he's here.
JT Mayhew in the playoffs. Remember, we talk about this all the time. You have to tune in every week because what we show you at the conclusion of a race may not necessarily be what it is the following week. Well, during the course of this past week, there was actually a restart violation called on the 77 of Donnie Garrett. Because of that and the recalculation of points, Garrett did not make the playoffs, and JT Mayhew garnered the final playoff position. So, yeah, if I don't say it often enough, tune in every week because it may not be absolutely official when we go off the air. It may be completely different from when we come back on for the green flag the following week's race.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this 3 wide racing here at the front. Look at this. Wiley Coke gonna get the lead right here in the middle lane. Is he gonna stay there? Is he gonna drop down? Ooh.
He was thinking about it. Like he was shading towards the inside line, but stays in that middle groove. Last week's winner, Chuck McClure, right there behind him. And Jessica Shelton ripping the top line there with Donnie Garrett. Rodney Sullivan's up there as well, getting that third line moving. Right now, the 3-wide battle is around the 7th position. The first 3 rows double file. Wiley Coke coming into this one 15th in the point standings. He was one of the drivers we highlighted last week during the regular season finale that could have pointed or won his way into the playoffs, but was unable to. Been putting together still a very good season, despite the fact he's not going to be battling for a championship and looking to keep that consistency up. That third lane, it is flying. Shelton has managed to pick up about 5, 6, 7 spots in the last 2 or 3 corners alone, and they're very well organized up there.
Yep. 3 wide. That outside lane's coming. It's fighting here. Now, Seth, we talked about how these cars have been really good in terms of cautions wise. I don't know. This is a big storm right now.
Definitely is. This is getting a little bit hairy visibly. These drivers out there, though, they're probably as comfortable as they can be. They're used to 3 wide all the way through the field, which is what we see. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 9 rows of 3 wide here. And at the very front of the field, it's Hagley on the bottom, Cote in the middle, Shelton on the top. Who leads this lap this time by? I believe the 9 did. The Reese's number 9 Chevrolet just edged out the splitter at the start-finish line to get the bonus point lap led. Ooh, we got a side-to-sider back there. That's nothing you want to see when they're 3-wide racing. I think that was Glenn Harris up on the top side.
Reese's for you, Napa for me. On that number 9.
We've got Reese's, we've got Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, and we've got Haviland. I only suggest eating 2 of those things.
Oh, speaking of eating, here, Seth, here's your pizza.
Oh, thank you. The aroma was too much to bear. I definitely need to chow down on this.
It's so good.
Can you imagine having like a series that's just sponsored by pizza? Not even a brand, just pizza.
Welcome to the Pizza Cup Series, sponsored by Pizza. Every sponsor you see is pizza.
That would be awesome. Very rare that we end up seeing the inside line in a 3-wide situation here at Talladega be the line that prevails, but for a moment there, Hagley was clear for the top spot. The middle line, which is usually the best line here at Talladega, seems to be losing the numbers and falling back. This is not what we're used to seeing. Normally the inside line is the slower way around the racetrack, and the middle line is the somewhat overpowered lane, but I'm not sure if it's because more drivers kind of scarpered out on that middle groove, so they lost the momentum, or...
It's the third lane. The third lane always kills the middle lane.
Not always here at Dega, though. At BSR that we're going to next week, it does. Not always. It doesn't always seem to stall out that middle line here at Talladega Superspeedway. As up at the front right now, you've got some playoff contenders that have started out the evening well. Josh Metallic holding down second. Jeremy Jeffries right now in fourth. Tim Knofsker and Chuck McClure currently in sixth and seventh. Brian Schilling right behind them as well. The last time that we had a repeat champion here in the Talladega Challenge Series was back seasons 57 and 58. That was Grant Wesley. In the last two seasons, I'm sorry, correction, it was actually seasons 56 and 57 that it was Grant Wesley. Season 59, I'm sorry, correction, season 58
Wow.
was Brian Schilling. Season 59, Grant Wesley again. And then season 60, the defending champion was Richard Martin. So we've had three different champions in the last three seasons. And we are at least guaranteed we will not have a back-to-back champion here in season 61. Unfortunately, Demar, who consistently finished well last year, despite not going to victory lane to wrap up that championship, did not make the playoffs this season. Now, Grant Wesley and Brian Schilling both did make this, but we at least, even if either one of them won the championship, we'd be guaranteed having four different champions in a row here in season 61. Oh, we got a car airborne. That's Greg Palmer, one of our playoff contenders. Caution's going to wave for the first time here tonight on lap number 10.
Dante Ricky is involved in it as well.
Greg Palmer won the very first race of the season here to lock himself into the playoffs. And he is involved in the first caution of the postseason. That car caught a ton of air, but it looked like he didn't hit the wall, and it did land back on all fours, so we'll have to wait and see how much damage he actually sustained as Craig Hagley receives the yellow. Here's the 84 of Dante Ricky, another of the former winners on the season. And there is the Bacardi number 22 of Greg Palmer. Looks like maybe the front end pushed in a little bit there.
Let's see.
Go back off of turn 2 and see what happened to him.
Oh, the 8 was side-by-siding, and I think the 7 just pushed up into the 22 and the 84.
That's exactly what happened.
And then with no roof flaps, the back of the 22 just started to come up off the ground.
No roof flaps. Very tiny spoiler.
Yeah, the 8 car got put in a wall also by Dante because he was warping so much.
So Side Jones pushing up off of 2 into Palmer. Into Dante Ricky here, so look at it again. Yeah, when Palmer tried to save it, he then came back up the track, gets right reared by the 84 of Dante Ricky. Now, the blowover, incredibly enough, is not really what I'm worried about because the thing didn't go up onto its roof and it landed back on all fours. I am a little bit concerned about that front-end damage nosing it into the outside wall. The damage model here for the Aero 88 cars is incredibly deceptive. You could take a pretty big hit, but it doesn't necessarily show up visibly on the race car. You basically have to wait until the cars get back up to speed to see if they can stay in the draft and still hit the top speed necessary to stay in the lead group. But I can visibly see it looks like a little bit of a push in, like a little V indent in the front grille of that machine. So we'll have to see if they can do a little TLC on that car and get him back out there and have him still be up to speed and in the hunt. If not for the race victory, at least for a decent points night. Well, Jason Scheck is going to inherit the race lead as most of the leaders came down pit road. Looks like 5 drivers elected to stay out here, at least for the moment. Scheck, Schilling, Jones, Harris, and Hewlick. Then Craig Hagley, who was the first on pit road, is the first one off of pit lane. As of right now, running in 6th. We'll see if these top 5 come to pit road, and he would end up being the one to get us back under green. Yeah,
Here, so
notable. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Seth, this might play into a bit of a strategy here in a way for these drivers. They were roughly less than 10 laps away from their usual pit stops because you know these cars can go about 19 to 22 laps on gas, give or take. So this could be interesting for the around the end of the race if it goes green from here.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that as of right now, because of the timing of the yellow, we'll put it at lap 10 when the caution came out. These drivers would now be able to make it on 3 pit stops to the end. Normally, if we end up seeing a race go green from start to finish, they always end up having those 3 stops, and then there's that, about 5 or 6 lap buffer that they're short of making it the rest of the way. Now, with the timing of this yellow, it kind of takes those extra laps out of question, and that should just kind of be a straight 3-stopper from this point on. Brian Schilling stays out here. I have to assume that this is to get a bonus point for a lap led. We'll probably see the 4 dive onto pit lane this next time by.
And we run usually about 3 to 4 caution laps, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. We do have a lap machine, and I'm not certain as to why. Oh, now I know. He fell out of the server and came back in. John Van Gorder. We did have all 32 cars on the lead lap at the timing of the yellow, but looks like he just recently fell out and returned back into the server. So he has currently scored -1, or has he returned back in the server? No, he has not.
No, I was gonna look, but you know.
You can look and confirm if you want, I guess, but
Yeah,
he hasn't come back into the team speak.
Yeah, he has not returned back into Dasova.
Das Sauve. Oh, now he's connected into the TeamSpeak again, so that should more than likely give us the extra lap of pacing here, since there would be a driver scored off of the lead lap. And it looks like with that flicker that he has entered back into the server. Now, we'll bring back up the playoff standings coming into this one, and I failed to mention that a playoff contender is not in the field here tonight, and that is the driver of the 00, Kelly Causey. Kelly in our chat here this evening saying he wishes bad luck to all the playoff contenders, so he has a chance to go to the next round of the playoffs next week. We've seen it before, Michael. We've seen drivers, playoff contenders, be in a must-win situation in an elimination race and be able to do it, so no saying Kelly Causey won't be able to do that next week when we're under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway.
Absolutely. Anything's possible at tracks like this, Seth, so you know it.
Lights out on that pace car, so we're getting ready to go back green. Craig Hagley and Josh Metallic going to be the front row. Jeremy Jeffries, John Godfrey in row 2. Tim Knopfsker, Donnie Garrett, row 3. Chuck McClure and Wiley Coate, they'll be in row 4. And then Jessica Shelton and Denny Carroll going to complete the top 10. Denny Carroll making his first start on the season. We've seen him in previous seasons here in the Talladega Challenge Series, but his first race of season 61. Take it a little bit further back here through the field. Bob Seminara is going to roll off from 11th. Richard Martin 12th. Bob Dixon 13th. Rodney Sowens 14th. And points leader Joe DeSpirito will be 15th. Terry Bombard 16th. Bernie Mob 17th. Then Bobby Farrell, Milt Surratt, and Ron Hagelin going to be the top 20. Tom Dixon in 21st. Mark Paglia 22nd. Greg Palmer, after the wild ride in the back straightaway, is going to restart in 23rd. Glenn Harris 24th. Dante Ricky 25th. Grant Wesley looks like he's going with a little bit of a strategy call here. Came down pit road at the 1 to green. He'll restart back in 27th. Doug
Well, yeah,
Ulick in
19 laps from now is what?
halfway.
Thanks.
Oh, were you looking for lap
No.
33?
Well, yeah, 33. So that would be the next time these cars would have to come down pit road, and then that make it what, about a 2-stop?
Uh, well, are you talking about from this point a 2-stop?
Say that again, Seth?
Are you talking about from this point it being a
Yeah.
two-stop?
Yes.
Uh,
If they pit right, were to pit right now.
if they were to pit right now, then yeah, it'd be a 2-stop. The furthest they'd be able to go would be roughly around to lap 52, which would be around 14 to go. Green flag back in the air. You saw the second cars in line, Godfrey and Jeremy Jeffries, trying to time when the green flag was going to fly to give the appropriate push to the cars ahead of them. Looks like inside line prevailing there out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. A lot of shuffling in the middle to rear of the field. Drivers diving from the top to the bottom and subsequently from the bottom to the middle line. Remember, for the 12 playoff drivers that we have in the field here tonight, it's like typical playoff rules where if you win, you go in to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway next week knowing that you are automatically locked into the round of 8. And we talked to drivers during the course of the season, drivers that get those victories in the early portion of the schedule, knowing that all they got to do is then stay in the top 20 in points. It's a huge weight off their shoulders, a huge load off their minds. Well, same deal applies here for the playoff contenders in these first playoff races of each round. If they're able to win and go into the elimination race worry-free, that just takes such a load off of their mind, and they can
It
just
really
go out
does.
there and have some fun. Not only that, but consider this, Michael, the fact that I mentioned that Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway this season is kind of where everything for the important highlights of the season is taking place. It's where the regular season came to a close and the playoff grid was put together. It's where each elimination race is going to be, and ultimately at the end of the season, it will be where the final checkered flag will wave and we'll have ourselves a champion here in season 61. If you win here at Talladega, you can go into that elimination race at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway and you can experiment.
Oh yeah.
You could try and figure some stuff out that maybe you can apply in that season finale with the championship hanging in the balance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a third lane starting to form now up on the outside. Here, I can't tell who that is.
That's Denny Carroll, I think.
Carroll on the outside trying to make that third lane happen, so we should see that middle lane kind of start to fall back.
Oh, what do you call it? The Traxico car?
Trexico. Yep,
Trexico.
Trexico.
Texaco. Taxico.
Yeah, we're gonna be taxed if we keep saying it.
Taxo no.
Texo, no.
Craig Hagley, I think this is the most laps that Craig has led all season long in a race.
That Davey Allison car.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, there's middle lane.
Tim Knopfsker, Chuck McClure. Josh Metallic up there as well. Looks like the XFM teammates all working together there in that middle groove. Now look at the momentum they've got there. Is Knopfsker going to put alongside of Craig Hagley, and I think he's going to have the momentum to lead this lap as he edges ahead through the tri-oval.
There.
Update on the 19 of John Van Gorder. He is at the tail end of this field. He is 1 lap down.
Which means guaranteed 4 laps of pacing.
But it also means that as of right now, we would have a lucky dog should we see another caution. He's the only driver right now that would be eligible for such. Looks like a driver has lost the pack in Tom Dixon. So we've got 31 drivers, 30 of them on the lead lap up in this lead group. As we got another car side to side back there. That was Seminara, I believe, in the 712 car. Looks like that settled out though for him. We've seen it in the past, Michael, with drivers that have been in the playoffs and been in the championship hunt and obviously out of their control, but internet problems have plagued some of our playoff contenders from being able to advance and compete for the championship once the playoffs begin. You'd
Oh
hate
yeah,
to see that happen to anybody here in the early portion of these playoffs.
yeah, I agree. It's really terrible when it happens, but unfortunately, it's just one of those things that come with online racing.
Looks like that 22 of Greg Palmer, who had the majestic blowover on the back straightaway for our first and up to this point only caution of the night. Looks like he's up to speed and good to go. He's up in that third lane right now, still in this lead pack.
Somehow, so
Now
is
the thing of,
Dante Ricky.
now the thing of it is though, with that, even though a car is up to speed, despite being involved in a wreck, there are still questions. Because you can have a car that's still up to speed provided you're the pusher, but if you're the car that's trying to lead a line and you've got some aero damage, then that just stalls out the entire line. So the fact that we haven't seen the 22 get up here and try and lead a lane almost makes me wonder, is there damage sustained there where he would not be able to get out in clean air and be able to challenge potentially later on this evening for the race victory? Less than half a car length right there for Tim Nofsker, leading that lap. The Holly Farms 088. Believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is a Dale Sr. throwback. And he's got Chuck McClure right there behind him. We saw Chuck McClure debut that new paint scheme featuring Race LM servers as well as his Folger sponsorship, and he put it in victory lane last week in its debut. Giving it another good run here tonight, looking for back-to-back victories to close out the regular season and begin the playoffs. As right now he is just edged ahead of Craig Hagley for second place. You've got playoff contenders, 4 of them, currently inside of the top 5, crossing the line that time by, and then they're stacked up 3 wide, 5 rows behind them.
Go side by side up here trying to get a third lane going. It's just not really that impressive up there just yet, but still trying to go.
Got some fast cars up there with Denny Carroll leading, Rodney Sullins, Dante Ricky, Jason Scheck, Doug Kulik. I saw Grant Wesley last time by on the back straightaway jump up to that third line as well. For those that were keeping track, we went back green on lap 14. So we'd be looking somewhere around in the next 10 laps for these drivers to have to start thinking about making a green flag pit stop. And you don't think about it all that often, but pit road, I think,
like
is
thinking
just
in general.
as much fair, same. But pit road is just as much of a treacherous place, if maybe not more so at a super speedway than on the racetrack itself. Because you got a whole bunch of drivers you come down pit road with, a lot of trust comes into play with knowing everybody's braking zone, believing that everybody's going to make it onto pit road safely and not run each other over, not make contact to hinder you coming into pit lane. And then, these drivers love the art of hot pitting, and sometimes you get a little too anxious to get that extra mile per hour on entry, and the speeding police nab you.
Yep.
And we've seen quite a number of black flags handed out in the last couple of weeks with the number of green flag pit stops that we've seen, both here at Talladega and at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And quite a number of them have actually been prevalent to a driver going on to win the race that could have been in the conversation, all of a sudden fading out and having to rely on a yellow flag or something to get back up into the checkered flag picture. As that 3 wide we saw, it's still going on, but middle line has lost momentum. Uh-oh. Just had a car third in line disappear there. I think that was Shelton. She just reappeared at the tail end of the pack.
Man, that was very bad if her game just lagged like that.
Yeah, very fortunate that the car reappeared behind everybody and not in the middle of the pack, but I believe, yeah, that was Shelton in the 9. There you see her at the very back of the screen there. That was in the 3rd position.
That's going to cause her to really to lose the draft, I
Yeah,
feel
for
like.
sure. I'm also wondering, I think sometimes NR is finicky if the car disappears before the start-finish line, then reappears afterwards. I'll have to see if it still has her scored on the tail end of the lead lap this time by or not. But the field was starting to kind of break up in terms of the lines. The middle line was losing momentum. The outside line is completely disintegrated.
Oh,
Most
she's on
everybody
the
has
lead
gotten
lap.
down to the middle groove.
She's on the lead lap.
Okay. But to your point, running by herself that far back, more than likely going to lose the draft. Yeah, she's about almost a quarter to a third of a straightaway behind the lead group. As now the middle line starts to get the momentum back. It's kind of a culmination of what was the middle and outside lines, as Denny Carroll and Rodney Sellers have jumped down behind the 39 of Josh Metallic, and now Nofsker is gaining back the forward momentum he had before, pulls back alongside of Craig Hagley. These two have had a nice little back and forth here these last 10 laps or so. Nofsker gets the edge, then Hagley gets the edge, then Nofsker gets the edge back again.
Yep, that's what you get with your side by side. We'll see if the outside lane actually gets a good run. Seth, we're about maybe 5 laps or less away from pit stops here.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I think the ticker might
What
be
happened?
messed up for some people here on this lap or the next lap. The scoring just updated itself. It didn't, for some reason, score the 82 or the 088 the last time by. It had McClure as the leader, and I was trying to figure out what was going on there. Then they reappeared up back in the top 2 positions. So hopefully it didn't glitch out the ticker on the broadcast. But no, looks like we're good. Looks like we're okay. That scared me for a moment. We talk about the X Factor drivers that are not battling for the championship. Craig Hagley, who's led 15 laps so far tonight, the most so far this evening. You got to think he's in that conversation. Denny Carroll making his first start in the season right now, unofficially in the 6th position in that 41. I'm also seeing the defending champion, Richard Martin, making his way up there on the inside in the STP number 43 Chevy. I'm sorry, that's not a Chevy, that's a Pontiac.
Wow.
Still GM.
Way to just mislabel that car. I hope they come after you for
Wouldn't be the first time.
that.
Certainly won't be the last. Though you say that, and I'm probably the only one in this booth that knows what the original logo of the Pontiac was.
Well, you're old, Seth, of course.
I know. You saw there, Nofsker and McClure jump down to the inside line. That's because we're about, well, depending on when drivers came to pit lane there under that caution, some might be coming to pit road in this next lap. Some might be able to go another 2 or 3 laps. I think we might have had somebody on pit road already here. I thought I saw a radio light up. Perhaps not. Maybe this next time by.
What was the 111?
Oh, Hagelin?
Yeah, I don't see him on pit road, but he might be coming this time.
Okay, yeah, I think he's at the, yeah, there he is at the tail end of this pack, so we expect the Coca-Cola Chevrolet to make a dive in. We'll see about any of our front runners here.
It's called Coca-Cola for various reasons.
Betty Croker-Cola. Now that didn't work the way I planned for it to.
Denzel Crocker-Cola.
Oh, no!
Here we go, Barrett.
Oh, Nofsker!
Oh, Nofsker! Ooh.
Locked up the rear brakes. Oh, and then John Van Gorder spinning right in front of Ron Hagelin. Nofsker, there was nobody around him. He was the lead car coming in, but he locked up those rear tires. It snaps around on him, and that's a lot of track position he's going to lose.
The 41 is definitely pitting according to this radio. He just keeps hitting the button. That's for sure.
Are we sure he's pitting?
I mean,
Is he definitely pitting? Is the hand definitely out the window?
I don't know.
He's
It's
in the
whole.
middle line. That's not going to be a very good entry into pit road if that's where he's pitting from. Oh, it's a lot of drivers. Oh,
There
no!
goes that's the 88, the
That's a lot of them.
77, the 43s involved of this.
I saw at least 2 playoff drivers, Grant Wesley and Rodney Sellens,
Now the
getting swept up
question:
in that.
did the 41 pit?
He did.
Oh yes, he did. Right
Yes, he
here.
did. Donnie Garrett was the car I saw spinning around, but there was another one that spun with him, and it just completely swept up.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
No cautions. Everyone's gonna have like maybe a 30-second penalty added to their stop for running outside.
Well,
We'll see what happens.
I think they only get the 30-second penalty if they don't cross the commitment line on the left side. If they at least made the commitment line, then they wouldn't get the 30-second penalty. But to your point, there might have been some that did get swept out to the right side of that line. You have to wonder, too, a lot of times you can end up getting a black flag penalty for speeding up to avoid a wreck that's happening around you or behind you. And just that momentary lapse of trying to make sure your car doesn't get wrecked could end up garnering you a speeding penalty. So we'll keep tabs on that and see if anybody ends up getting nabbed here. But it looks like at least 3 playoff contenders with issues here on this first round of green flag pit stop. That being Tim Nofsker, Rodney Sellens, and Grant Wesley. I believe the 77 of Donnie Garrett's coming back down pit road. 19 of John Van Gorder, I'm being told, has been given a black flag. Also, the 711 of John Godfrey coming back down pit lane. There's the 38 of Sullins. He's going to be on the very tail end of the lead lap. I almost wonder, to your point, Michael, if he might have been one that spun to the outside of the commitment line and had to take the 30-second penalty, which is why he's as far back as he is.
Well, it looked like all of them at least made it onto pit road before spinning, so except for maybe Grant, but that's not going to be fun for Grant to have to make up all those spots, especially if he were to get a bad finish here. So it says the 4 car is the leader. Where is the 4 car at right now?
I think it's gonna cycle around to the 712 here.
Yep, there it goes.
Yeah, the 4 and the 23, as well as the 338 and the 71, all drivers that had played the strategy of coming to pit road at the 1 to green on the only restart so far here tonight.
And I might have saved him from being on a very crowded pit road.
For sure. And they're actually right here catching up to this lead pack. Look at that. There's Schilling, there's Hulick, there's Mayhew, and Scheck just behind. So because of the strategy that they played out here, they're going to be up inside of the top 10. Look at Schilling trying to make that inside line work all by his lonesome with that momentum. Got a car coming on pit road there. I believe that was Terry Bombard. Yep, he got hit with a speeding penalty. So he has to come down pit road for a pass-through. And that's going to put him off the lead lap.
Gonna put how many cars in this lead pack here?
In this pack, I think we're going to have...
I think like 11 or 12 maybe?
Yeah, I think Paglia... Well, no, actually Paglia's not in this group. He's about 0.8 of a second back, so actually only 11 cars in this lead pack for the moment. Wait, is that Paglia right there? I think that is Paglia. I think he is going to be able to catch up. So we'd have 12 drivers in this lead pack here.
So
and of the playoff drivers, I believe there are 5 of them.
This should bring people or these cars down pit road unless we get another caution with about, like you said, between 15 to 14 laps to go.
Yeah, which
for
in that case is automatically a cannon and a half of fuel.
Look at you like you know the strategy.
Oh, you can't. If you've got 14 laps, even as the maximum, you can't make it on a can. You gotta take a can and a half.
Tires or no tires?
Ooh,
or 2 tires.
I think it would depend on how well I got onto pit road. if I smoked my left sides a little bit there trying to hot pit, then I might go for left sides. But if I'm fine with the tire wear getting onto pit lane, then I'm not changing tires at all.
Well, there you go, folks. Heard it from Seth Cole.
Yep, I'm not gonna call it the race winning move.
Call it
It's
the
the
pit strategy.
move. We'll
It's
just
a
call it
pit,
the move.
a pit strategy.
The race move.
We'll just call it the.
The I was also there in this race move. No, that's too many words.
No, it's just called the.
The. Rodney Sullins, you see right there with Cy Jones. Gonna go a lap down. As of the moment, Rodney is the lowest running on the order of the playoff contenders. Tim Nofsker is about roughly 24 seconds ahead of the race leader. So he's about half a lap down right now and currently running by his lonesome. Greg Palmer is in the 21st position. He's back in a pack of about 4. The one driver that kind of got away with getting involved in a pit road incident and it didn't necessarily hurt him all that much is Grant Wesley. Grant's right here with this second pack that is reeling in the lead group.
Oh, lucky for him.
P14 last time by, and he's going to make his way up here into the conversation to battle for the top 10 in this next lap or so.
Just when you think he's out of it, he's not.
Typical Grant, right?
Exactly.
Well, one thing that I saw there when Grant was involved in the incident, yes, he spun through the grass, but he was able to kind of get the car pointed in the right direction quickly and then mash the throttle, and it kind of, he lost some track position, but he didn't lose a whole lot of momentum.
Right.
Unfortunate for him as well, as he came off of pit road with a group rather than by himself, so that helped him in his efforts to get back up here into the lead pack. Also, Josh Metallic in the 39 also with this pack here. And he's going to catch up to the tail end of the field. Jessica Shelton going to go a lap down there in the 9 car after she had the connection issue in the early going that lost her the lead pack. So now we got ourselves a bit of a battle going on here for Rodney Sullins to be in one of the 2 highest 1 lap down spots to be eligible for a lucky dog should we get a caution. In this lead group right here, you've got Shelton, Sullins, Cy Jones, Donnie Garrett just at the tail end of this pack as well. So there are some scenarios where Rodney Sullins, with a caution coming out, may not necessarily get his lap back via the lucky dog.
Nope. I have to keep an eye on it too.
But the question is, do we get that caution? I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the night. The last 3 or 4 races so far this season, we've maybe seen at the most 3 cautions combined in those races. We've only seen 1 caution so far here tonight. We've seen a round of green flag pit stops, and if it continues to trend the way that it has, we're probably not going to see another caution for the rest of the evening. So it just puts so much more emphasis on do not make mistakes in the first half of this race, because you're more than likely not going to get a mulligan to be able to combat the problems you had in the second half of the race.
Yeah, I'm glad that you jinxed us with that.
And the big one happens behind them.
You know, it's funny, right as you said that, I thought I heard squealing in the back.
You might have. I think these cars, if you push up in the corner enough, especially I know off of turn 4, the rear tires will squeal. Well, Jeremy Jeffries, what a night, huh? Didn't know if he was going to be even able to take the green flag. He was in 2 races tonight. The race to get back home and then the race here at Talladega. Was able to get into the server, grid up, started inside of the top 10. Uh-oh, are we under yellow? Yes, we are.
Oh, see? You had to go and jinx it.
The only reason why I wondered if we were under yellow was I saw the 24 of Despirito kind of shade up.
Godfrey's around on the front straightaway. Who are our lap down cars?
At the line, it said Sullins and Shelton. So Sullins will get back on the lead lap.
We'll see what
Oh, they're
happens
wrecking
whenever.
here, coming back to the pace car. Glenn Harris and Tom Dixon just got together. I don't know what happened right there. But the 8 and the 45, they just spun up there on the banking of 1 and 2. Here's the leader, Jeremy Jeffries, coming back now out of 2 to receive the pace car. And there's the 7-11 of John Godfrey. So let's go back first and see what happened to him. Hey, by the way, Michael, all of
Yeah.
that pit strategy talk we were doing,
Yeah.
yeah, it's out the window. They can't make it on this one stop. They got to pit again.
Well, gonna make things interesting.
It is. Here's look what happened with John Godfrey. Oh, it looks like Greg Palmer may have been trying to get Godfrey up to speed, and he bumped him in the tri-oval. Godfrey came down, bounced off the car on the inside, and goes around just before the start-finish line. Take another look at it here. Godfrey was running about 15 miles per hour slower than the drivers in the pack behind him. It looked like Palmer was trying to get him up to speed to be able to merge with this group, and unfortunately picked the wrong area of the racetrack to bump him. Godfrey bounces off of Bob Dixon and spins it down to the inside wall.
All these cars down pit road.
That was a caution that a lot of drivers wanted to see. Maybe not the drivers up in that lead pack, but definitely the drivers that had lost the lead group and our 2 lucky dog drivers. Here's a look at what happened into turn 1 after they had received the caution, and I think the 8 might have been told from his spotter that he had taken the yellow, so he was slowing to be behind the pace car, but I think at that point he needed to actually continue around the racetrack because the one of Jeremy Jeffries was actually further back. And as he slows, Tom Dixon doesn't have time to be able to check up, and he gets into the back of the 8. Well, John Godfrey, after being involved in that caution, has come to pit road and made the left-hand turn to the garage. So tough break there for Godfrey. He'll be, looks like, the first driver to DNF here this evening. We had run a total of 40 laps, and all 32 drivers that had taken the green flag were still on the racetrack under power. You see Jessica Shelton, Rodney Sullins. They're going to be the lucky dog drivers. Looks like potentially Cy Jones and Donnie Garrett, should they choose to, they could take the wave around here with no lead lap cars in front of them. Tom Dixon, I believe, as well, could take the wave around and put himself to -1. Let's see of our lap cars who come to pit road here. I think Sullins and Shelton will come in. And looks like Cy Jones and Donnie Garrett, they're coming in as well. So we're not going to have any lucky dog, or not lucky dog, sorry, wave around drivers here.
Who are the lucky dogs for sure this time?
38 and 9 confirmed.
Gotcha.
So it looks like Cy Jones and Donnie Garrett will be 1 lap down apiece. Terry Bombard and Tom Dixon will be -2, and John Van Gorder will be -3 of the lap machines. So Jeremy Jeffries will be the one that leads us back to green, and, well, at the time the caution came out, Michael, I said that it looked like they were going to have to make one more pit stop. But we're going to be going green. If the lights go out this next time by, we're going green with 19 to go.
Oh
Right
boy.
on the mark.
What kind of physics does this
This is
mod have?
CTS.
I don't think they're gonna make it.
This is the big question here for these race leaders, because you can see them bogging down. They're throwing in the clutch. They're trying to save fuel. They came to pit road the first lap that pit road was open, which would have been on lap 41. I'm sorry, correction, lap 42. So they potentially could be 1 to 2 laps short. You know, if there's drivers at the back of the pack, they're coming down at the 1 to green and topping off the fuel tank. So they probably would be able to make it the rest of the scheduled distance. Do you, if you're any of these guys up here at the front, do you roll the dice, give up the track position to come to pit road for that security in the gas tank?
Yes. Yes, I do. Simple as that.
We'll
Yes,
see.
I do.
We'll see if anybody does that. You've got playoff contenders up here like Jeremy Jeffries and Chuck McClure, Joe DeSpirito. You know they want the track position here.
Think about it, Seth. Come down the top off at the 1 to go. Your risk track position goes back green. You know, you get closer towards the end of the race. A caution comes out. Everybody else comes down pit road, maybe to get a little bit of top off on gas, and that gives you your check position back.
Well, I can tell you this. If a caution came out at our point of no return, nobody's coming to pit road.
Well, obviously.
They're all going to try and save to make the rest of the way. And there you go. Right on cue, Michael. Race leader Jeremy Jeffries makes the dive to pit lane, coming to the 1 to green. Looks like a few others came down pit road with him, but none really up here at the front of the field. So McClure, Joe DeSpirito, looks like Grant Wesley, Bob Seminara, Brian Schilling of the playoff contenders. They're going to hope they have enough to get to the conclusion. Ideally for them, they'd like to have enough to at least just make it to the point of no return, then get a caution and save the rest of the fuel under the final pacing laps.
Get a caution.
Are you in New York?
Accents. Yep, coming out. Your accent's coming out.
Hey, yo, I'm walking here. Denny Carroll. First start of the season. And he's going to be the one to lead us back to green in that number 41. JT Mayhew, who for most of the day is kind of rode in the back, is now going to be on the outside of the front row, looking for his first win on the season as well. Then our most recent winner, Chuck McClure, third. Doug Hulick up here in the fourth position, looking for his first win on the season. Then it's the regular season champion, Joe DeSpirito, and former winner on the season, Grant Wesley, making up row number 3. Playoff drivers Bob Seminara and Brian Schilling in row 4. And it looks like Demar and Craig Hagley going to complete the top 10. This restart going to be with less than 20 to go. Craig Hagley's led the most laps here tonight with 16 circuits out in front. Jeremy Jeffries has led 10. 7 laps so far led here tonight for Chuck McClure. 2 laps led apiece for Bob Seminara, Brian Schilling, and Jason Scheck. Wiley Coate has led 3 laps here tonight, and then 1 lap out in front each for Jessica Shelton, Greg Palmer, Tim Nofsker, and currently Denny Carroll, but that total will increase as he will lead his second lap of the night here, getting ready to put us under the green flag. Officially going to be 18 laps to go here at Talladega Superspeedway.
And will it be enough for some of these drivers?
That's the big question. Going to be fun to keep an eye on the Valvoline number 1 of Jeremy Jeffries. He'll restart back in, it looks like, around the 13th or 14th position. Giving up the track position and the race lead to get that extra bit of fuel. JT Mayhew, great restart there for the Barks Root Beer Chevrolet, but little too good of a restart as he had nobody behind him, loses that momentum out of turn 2. Now Chuck McClure is going to jump up to the middle groove. Whoa! Doug Hulick, little out of shape there. Might have been an uneven bump from Grant Wesley. Hangs on to it though. Wesley lets him back in line. And now that second groove has to get formed back up. That gives the advantage for the moment back to the inside line.
Gonna go and do the tri-oval, coming back side by side.
Well, this caution that came out was huge for a few playoff contenders. Rodney Sullins getting the lucky dog. Tim Nofsker being able to stay on the lead lap after he spun coming onto pit lane. Greg Palmer, who had lost the lead pack as well. All three of them now in this lead group, all on the lead lap, able to make forward progress as Chuck McClure, with the help from JT Mayhew, edged ahead for the time being into turn 3. Here comes the inside line back. And off the corner, it should shift the momentum back to the middle lane. But how about third lane, being led by Doug Hewlick in the 23. He's got help from Grant Wesley in the lap car of Terry Bombard. Right now, Terry and Donnie Garrett are in the 2 lucky dog positions here. We've got 3 drivers currently 1 lap down. Cy Jones is the other one, battling for one of those 2 free pass positions.
Keeping it going here. 3 wide, several rows deep. Yeah. Now, Seth, Danny Carroll is expending the most fuel being the lead car out there. Is that going to hurt his chances?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if you end up leading all the laps during the course of a fuel run, then you can go 18 laps. And we went back green with 18 to go. So it'd be right on the numbers depending on how much he was able to save under the pacing laps.
That's true.
Think about it, though, in the case of Denny Carroll. It's his first start in the season. He's starting at 0 points. He's just out here to win this thing, so I think it's basically you bring home the checkered flag or you sputter out of turn 4 on the final lap, one or the other. It's a kind of a go-for-broke attitude for him. Kind of reminds me of Keith Hughes a number of seasons ago when Keith made his debut in the series, ended up going to victory lane a couple of times in his rookie season, made his way into the playoffs. But Denny Carroll got ganged up on in that middle line. Joe DeSpirito going to the point. Joe DeSpirito, folks, ended up doing something that no driver has ever done in Talladega Challenge history. Every single regular season race here in Season 61, he finished in the top 5. Imagine doing that week after week in a Super Speedway series. He got a victory in the course of that as well. He won the regular season championship. Heck, he dominated the regular season. His closest competitor at the end of the regular season was over 60 points back. Nobody could hold a candle to the numbers Joe DeSpirito was putting up, and now the playoffs begin, and the multi-time former champion, picking up right where he left off in the regular season, out in front here late, and would love to lock himself into the round of 8. He's got his teammate Bob Seminara right there behind him. DeSpirito, obviously, as you mentioned, came into this race the points leader. Seminara came into this race 3 points to the good above the cut line. The cut line starting here in this round, 8th position in points. But if it comes down to the end of this race, you got to feel it's an every man for himself mentality. Both these drivers know it's at stake. Both these drivers know that they could suffer a DNF next week at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway and fall below that cut line, get eliminated from advancing into the next round. So they're going to go for it here for that automatic locked-in spot into the next round. Chuck McClure right behind Richard Martin. JT Mayhew holding down a solid top 5, and there's Brian Schilling in the 4. Currently in the 6th position, right in front of Craig Hagley, who's led the most laps so far tonight. There's Jeremy Jeffries. We mentioned we were going to kind of keep tabs on him. He is the highest running driver right now. I think somebody just disappeared again. That was Hewlick, and he just reappeared. But right now, Jeremy Jeffries is the highest running driver that topped off at the 1 to green under the last yellow. So we know for absolute certain he can make it the rest of the way. He is in full-on attack mode.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do coming to the field like that.
Right now in P8 for the Valvoline machine. Jeremy Jeffries is still looking for his first win on the season as well. One of a number of drivers that made his way into the playoffs via points. Mark Paglia, Kelly Causey amongst those as well. JT Mayhew also. And if we learned anything from last year, from the season 60 champion Richard Martin, you don't have to win to hoist that big trophy at the end of the season. Next time by, they'll be at 10 laps to go for the 24 of Joe DeSpirito, that Days of Thunder throwback. Three of our playoff 12 drivers that took the green here tonight inside of the top 5. Looks like 6 of them inside of the top 10. Schilling in 6th, Jeremy Jeffries in 8th, Grant Wesley right now in 10th. And you've got about the top 11 or 12 all single file. How long do you wait here, Michael, if you're a Chuck McClure or a Brian Schilling, knowing that you can't ride in line here if you're going to get up to the front to maybe start making an outside line or maybe an inside line? Good
Keep
answer.
going. I swear I'm here. I may or may not have zoned out slightly.
We're still in Alabama, though, right?
Are we?
I don't think there's another
I'm
Talladega in the United States. Maybe there is.
There's a Casadega here in Florida.
There's a what?
It's called Casadega.
Casadega.
It's Talladega's brother.
I know Casa is house. What does Dega mean?
Look it up.
Maybe afterwards.
These drivers single filed out. These front, was it? Excuse me.
Say about
be, what,
12
10,
or
12?
13, yeah. One driver that has not made forward progress, and I don't know if it's because he can't or he's just riding for the moment. That's the driver that got back on the lead lap via the lucky dog in the last caution, Rodney Sellens. He's still back there around the 22nd position.
Oh, and by the way, apologies, I didn't zone out. I had to go use the bathroom.
We'll call that zoning out.
I mean, I was zoned out to use it.
You were out of the zone, auto zone.
I had to use the little commentator's room.
Okay. That's what I'm going to say on our next group trip. I got to go use the little commentator's room. And you'll be the only one that knows what I mean.
Probably.
Now, we do have 5 drivers that are off the lead lap. So with that being said, we would have the extra lap of pacing if we were to have a caution. That shifts the point of no return to the completion of lap 62 rather than the completion of lap 63. That means that the point of no return would be around 3 laps from the time they hit the start-finish line this time by, and we're starting to get an inside line for him, and here we go. Brian Schilling, Jeremy Jeffries, Denny Carroll jumping down to the bottom of the racetrack. Grant Wesley, Chuck McClure is going to join them as well. The numbers starting to formulate down on that yellow line. About 7 or 8 of them down there against 5 on the middle groove.
Who's going to make it? That's going to be the question. This is going to be very crucial.
It's going to be very close for sure. Some traffic that maybe the leaders will have to deal with in a couple of laps.
Big wreck. Big wreck. Somebody's flipping in turn number 3. The caution is out. It was Doug Hulick. He got loose entering turn 3 and overcorrected back up into the wall. And I think he was the only one involved in that.
Hulick was running in the 11th position last time by. He was starting to form with that middle lane.
Oh, Seth. Who's going to take what on this pit stop under caution? And
there's no pit stop. There's no pit stop. They're so close on the numbers. They're not pitting. They're clutching here onto this pacing laps. But
that we're going to have, I would say,
we had a 1-lap shootout last week. What do we get this time?
I'm going to have to say it's going to be anywhere between 2 and 3. Excuse me. We have like 5 cars off the lead lap, so it's going to give us at least 4 laps of pacing at the most. So we should have a green-white checkered.
Donnie Garrett and Terry Bombard are going to get the lucky dogs here under this caution. They'll get back on the lead lap. Oh
Ooh,
boy, we had a
this is
shootout
gonna
last
be
week
good.
to end off the regular season.
It's
We may
gonna
be in
be a
line for a
shootout this
shootout to
time.
start the playoffs. Let's go back and see what happened with Doug Hewlick. Hewlick was starting to formulate a second group on the outside line to catch the top 5 in that middle lane. He's running up inside of the top 10, and does he just get a bad bump here maybe from Terry Bombard? Ooh, he's moving back and forth there. And yeah, he got bumped late. Boy, and immediately, as soon as that right front hits the outside wall, that car goes up and over.
Nobody came down pit road. Nobody has come down pit road. Nope, there's Jess.
At least
Jess
not of the front runners. I don't think anybody would come down pit road. Maybe drivers towards the back.
Yep, Jess dived in. So we'll just have to see.
Oh, big hit there for Doug Hewlick. Was running so well. He had gained a ton of track position with staying out the extra lap during that green flag pit stop cycle. And then when the caution came out, he was up in the top 10 almost the entirety of that run. Faded back maybe around to the 11th or 12th position, but then as we saw, it was starting to make his way back up on that outside line. But the late bump into turn 3 from Terry Bombard sends him into the wall, and unfortunately, out of this race. Doug Hewlick going to join John Godfrey back in the garage area. So it looks like with the number of laps we have left, Hewlick will finish in 31st, and Godfrey finishes 32nd. Well, you think these playoff drivers know what's at stake? We've got a total of 6 of them up in the top 10 right now. Win and you're into the next round. You go into next week's 66 lap event from Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, the elimination race, knowing you will be one of 8 drivers moving on to the next round of the championship. And you said it, Michael, 2, maybe 3 laps that these drivers will have to duke it out. We may not get back to the checkered flag under green flag conditions.
Nope, probably not, but we'll have to wait and definitely see. And Seth, we've got a bit of a caution laps ahead of us here. You want to toss a quick break so we can catch our breath?
Well, before we do that, just to give everybody a heads up on what's on tap here for coverage on the Flatout Racing Network here. Obviously, we'll see you guys next Thursday night here for the continuation of the playoffs for the Rolling Thunder Game at Talladega Challenge Series. First elimination race of the season, whittling it down from 13 to 8 remaining drivers into the next round of the playoffs at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. That next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And join us here tomorrow evening in the split broadcast on the Twitch side, split second broadcasting on the YouTube side, Flatout Racing Network, as we bring you coverage of the continuation of the 5th season of the Upper Edge Body Shop Super Speedway Series. Tomorrow night, you get 2 races for the price of 1. It's the Dega Duels. 2 races, 2 points payouts. More than likely, 2 different race winners. Should be a good one as we get ready for some dashes at Dega tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to join us for that one.
All right, and now we can catch our breath before this heck of a finish that's about to happen.
Yeah, the drivers better catch their breath too, because they're getting ready for a heck of a finish. We're going to be having a restart with less than 3 to go. We'll step aside for an FRN race break and be back here for the final restart of the night in our first playoff race of Season 61. You saw it there during our FRN race break. Lights out on the Chevrolet Corvette pace car. We are doing a green-white checkered to kick off the playoffs here. 7 playoff drivers going to restart up inside the top 10. Win and you're into the next round. Michael, do they make it around to the white?
Well, they're getting up to speed, so hopefully they do. But it's gonna be close. I can't wait to see what's gonna happen here.
You know, you talked about it, some really cool storylines right there in row 3. Jeremy Jeffries didn't know if he was going to make it back in time for the start of this race in the 5th spot, and you touched on it during our break. JT Mayhew, we thought at the conclusion of last week he wasn't going to be in the playoffs, but he got the last spot, and now he's up here inside of the top 6 with a shot of winning his way into the round of 8.
Grant Wesley overcoming odds of a pit stop accident up here, also in the top 10.
Who's going to bring home that checkered flag? Will it be a playoff driver to lock themselves in the next round, or will it be a spoiler with a non-playoff driver taking the checkered flag and forcing at least 7 to point their way into the round of 8 next week at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway? Here we go. Green flag will fly. We'll stay with the leaders regardless of if they make it back to the white or not. We'll check back on subsequent replays afterwards. Despirito with a great restart there. Gonna clear the inside line, I believe, on Bob Seminara. We'll see if he stays to the inside with Martin or if he jumps up to the middle line with Seminara coming off of turn 2.
Grant Wesley wants to form that third line. And he will right now, but it just doesn't have the momentum.
Little contact there between McClure and Carroll off of 2. They keep it together. Things a bit broken up there. We got, what, like 15 cars and then a gap back to Greg Palmer.
Got that third lane going, but who's going to jump up to break that momentum?
Wesley, Schilling, Dante Ricky, all former winners up there on that outside line. Now McClure jumps up there.
That's going to give them the momentum they need.
Seminara's going to get stuck in the middle with JT Mayhew. Oh, there we go. Metallic into Hagelin into Cote, and that's going to be it. Oh, they're wrecking here at the start-finish line.
I have no idea what that's going to do.
How does this get scored now? Because Despirito won the battle back to the line, receiving the caution. I'm assuming they're going to let the drivers get their spots back.
Yeah, because I can see him racing up there.
Yeah, he's coming back up there. Is Despirito. And I'll tell you why this is huge, Michael, is because both those incidents, the one that brought out the caution and the one coming back to the start-finish line, both looked like they might have been caused by playoff contenders. We keep saying every week, tune in next week to see the fallout of what might occur during the off week. And if both drivers involved in those incidents are put EOL in penalties, boy, that's going to put them in a bit of a deficit as far as the cut line's concerned in next week's elimination race. Everybody's trying to figure out where they're at.
Demar
off of turn 4.
Yeah, Demar should be getting up there.
Yeah, according to the way they crossed the start-finish line to take the caution, it was Despirito, McClure, and Martin, the top 3. And it looks like they are getting those subsequent spots. We'll go back, take a look at the replays of what went down. I think the first instance in the trial was started with Josh Metallic and Ron Hagelin. Wiley Cote got caught up in it.
Metallic got bumped from the car behind him, turned down into the 111. It was the orange and yellow car. Can't quite tell who that is.
Checkered flag in the air right there. Joe Despirito will pick up the victory. He's locked into the round of 8. Right. The top 5 streak continues. Somebody stop this man.
So, by the way, so the second accident was caused by the 17 of McClure coming down the racetrack to try to get in front of the 712, and he wasn't clear. And turned himself over between the 24 and the 43. So we might have to wait and see what the call would be for that, because if that's going to turn out to be on the 17, then I don't think he's going to be finishing second place.
Also, I'm not certain which incident it was, and we will look back obviously via replay, but one of those two incidents swept up the 088 of Tim Nofsker, who didn't make it back to the checkered flag and will finish 24th. So Novsker will, I would think, for sure
28 went
be
for a flip.
below the cut line heading into next week. Mark Paglia, as you just mentioned, he's going to finish, looks like 22nd. So he'll be below the cut line. Josh Metallic, you'd have to think, will be below the cut line. Ronnie Sullins. I'm seeing a lot of names here. I'm also seeing... I think admins are going to have to do a little bit of adjustment to the scoring, because I think the 712 ended up getting a post-race lap down penalty due to somebody not coming up and getting their spot before they came back around to the start-finish line. My scoring's got Seminara in 27th, 2 laps down. I don't think that's correct. Are we getting a reverse burnout?
What it looks like.
If you go around backwards around the track, it's a Polish victory lap. Is this a Polish burnout if you go backwards?
I don't know. I would definitely love to get an official ruling before we talk to.
Wow, there may not be an official ruling. The admins normally end up looking at stuff either the day or two after, so there may not actually be an official ruling on anything at this point in time. For the moment now, as Despirito completes his burnouts on the start-finish line, let's go back and
You got
see
questions? I
what...
say you got questions here. I'll see if I can't try to get a hold of Metallic and see if maybe see if he said what he says officially for tonight.
All right, we'll take a look here as you're trying to cover that of what brought out first the caution and then the incident at the start-finish line before we give you the official finishing results. Oh, looks like Novsker was pushing Metallic, who I think got into the right rear quarter panel of Ron Hagelin. Holy cow, Terry Bombard. I didn't know camels could fly, but that one did. Looked like a couple of drivers came flying in after the contact initially, and I think one of the drivers that got walloped was Novsker. Here's a look at it with our camera focused on the 088. Bernie Mobbs, Wiley Coat involved. Oh, it was Terry that got the 088. Look at, oh my gosh. Violent ride there for Novsker. That's no surprise that car wasn't able to make it back around to the start-finish line. Donnie Garrett in the 77. John Van Gorder in the 19. Take another look. Focused on the 10 of Terry Bombard. Wham! Oh, and then, oh gosh. Terry clipped that area of wall just past the exit of pit road, and that shot his car up into the air. And while all this was happening, then coming back here to the start-finish line, as Michael gave us the verbal account, Chuck McClure in the 17, leading the third line back to the stripe, moves down, gets into Seminara, and there you see Despirito. Paglia going for a wild ride. Could be interesting how this is all scored, because Paglia, I think, would have been, let's see, if we can find the 28, he would have crossed the line in 12th place. And final results, I think, are going to have him scored 22nd. So does he get that position back in the final finishing results? I mean, I don't know if there's a ruling here in the series about maintaining pace speed when involved in a wreck. I don't know what the end result of this is going to be. I'll give the usual disclaimer. Tune in next week. We'll have all the Fallout results for you. As here's another look at it. JT Mayhew right in the middle of this.
Okay, I've got
What'd you find out?
Official ruling is that they are not 100% sure if he'll get charged with anything, because from what Metallic said, it was just racing back to the caution flag thing. So if it was on like lap 5 or whatever, he would have got charged for it. But they're saying that he might really not get charged until they can officially look at it.
Okay.
So as of right now, his second place stands.
Alrighty. So we'll be talking with our top three here in just a moment. Let's take a look at the finishing results from this one. Spirito, McClure, and Martin. We'll be speaking with those podium finishers in just a few moments. Good run there for McClure. Good to be some good points off the heels of his victory last week. Grant Wesley in fourth and Jeremy Jeffries in fifth. So four of our playoff contenders up inside of the top five, and then another two right behind them, and JT Mayhew and Brian Schilling. You got to think that at least those six would be up above the eighth in the standings cut line heading into next week's elimination race. Good run for Denny Carroll in his first race of the season. Dante Ricky, who's run a limited schedule, ninth place run for him. And Craig Hagley, who was tied for leading most laps here tonight, 16 apiece between himself and Joe DeSpirito, going to complete the top 10. Greg Palmer, brought out that first caution, had the blowover in the back straightaway. He comes back for an 11th place run. Good run for the playoff contender. Rodney Sullins finished in 18th. Josh Metallic in 21st. Still got to see what the situation is going to be there for Mark Paglia as he has scored 22nd. Nofsker out of the race in 24th. And Seminara, I don't think this scoring is correct for him either, but it's got him at least unofficially in the 27th position. We'll have to wait for all the official wording during the course of the week and in preparation for next week's elimination race as to who officially finished where and what the playoff scenario looks like. The one thing we do know for absolute certain, though, is the fact that Joe DeSpirito is moving on to the round of 8. Let's head into our FRN post-race wind down, and let's head down trackside and see if we can dial up the drivers that brought it home first through third here this evening. Let's start first with the defending champion, Richard Martin.
User was moved
Hey,
to your
D-Mar, Michael, and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Great run for you here tonight, up in the conversation of the top 10 the entirety of the second half of this race. But a wild way to end this thing off, a green-white checkered in this first playoff race, and then a lot of trying to figure out who was where after that incident coming to the white flag and the caution. But right in that conversation for that checkered flag, if you had that extra lap under green, was there anything you could have done?
Yeah, probably maybe if I could have got clear, I would have maybe went outside, but then the outside might have, slowed down and maybe it would have been three wide. And I don't know. I was probably just going to be content to follow Joe and, try to get a nice second or third. But man, that was a wild finish. I didn't see that coming, that wreck. I just was sitting there and then all of a sudden there's cars all over the place.
We've been treated to some late race dramatics in the last 2 weeks now. Last week, the one lap shootout. Here tonight, the green white checkered. From a driver's standpoint, is it easier or harder to prepare for that extra lap there with a green white checkered as opposed to a one lap shootout?
No, I'm prepared either way it goes. I've been doing it long enough so that, that doesn't faze me in the least. I'm, a little upset I didn't make the chase, but that happens. I'm still kind of, basking in the glow from winning that championship last season.
Yeah, obviously, we touched on it last week, the hardship of not being able to defend that championship. The highest running driver in the point standings, though, outside of the playoffs. So, obviously, with another 5 races still left to go here during the playoffs, are you looking to just end the season out consistently like you were able to do back in season 60, or do we see a checkered flag in the future of this 43 car?
No, checkers are records for me. Not just joking, but yeah, no, I'm just going to go for wins now. Try to get a win. I was pretty close tonight, but that's the way it goes. It was a good race overall, but it kind of reminds me of the first race when I hate to say it, but I think it was the same driver got bounced up against the wall and came back down, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I'm talking about the first race, and that's how this my season got you know started off on the wrong foot, so to speak. I think we were in coming around the trioval when that happened, and I went from like a nice top five to like a 27th or something.
Well, podium finish for you here tonight. Congratulations on the great run there, Richard. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Thank you to Flatout Racing Network. You, Seth, is anybody up there with you tonight?
Yeah, we got Michael with me here tonight.
And Michael, of course. I never know when Michael's going to be there or not, but thank you
I
guys.
I try to be here.
Well, I'm glad you do. Thank you to Josh for running Thursday nights. Always does a great job. And thank you to all the other admins. And I'll be looking forward to next week.
Absolutely going to have some good momentum heading into next week at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Third place performance here tonight for Richard Martin. Congratulations and best of luck here for the remainder of the season.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good evening.
User was
Richard
moved out of
Martin
your
bringing it
channel.
home in the third position. Let's see if we can dial up the driver that crossed the line, P2. See if we can get a hold of Chuck McClure.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Chuck,
your
Michael and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys.
Well, 1 week removed from getting that victory to end off the regular season. Had that momentum coming here into the playoffs. You bring it home in the second position here tonight. Gonna not necessarily lock yourself into the round of 8, but gonna have a nice points cushion heading into that elimination race. We saw you up on that outside line there coming to the white flag. Had some good momentum leading the charge on the extreme outside line. Did you need that extra lap of green, though, to be able to pull it off and clear him off for the top position?
I don't know that I could have got him. He had a lot of good help. I need to apologize to those guys. I come down a little too low. I was getting shoved, but it's up to me to keep it up there, and I feel bad for that. But it is what it is until they penalize me if they do.
Let's talk about fuel because at the timing of the last yellow flag, it came out right on the window that we see you guys be able to make it around the 19 to 20 lap mark. If you didn't have a caution here to end out this race, could you have made it on fuel? If not, how close was it?
Uh, Honestly, I don't think I would have made it. It probably wouldn't have been running crossing the line. There sure wouldn't have been time for fuel. So, yeah, we got lucky with that one.
Now, you talk about the fact of not knowing exactly where you're going to be in the final finishing results, but let's remember back that last week, the race that you won was at the track we're going to next week. So, what did you learn from last week that you can apply for next week, depending on what your point situation is in relation to the cut line?
Well, you got to stay out of trouble. You need to stay on that bottom line all you can and make your passes down there and uh, just stay out of trouble mainly.
Well, this brand new paint scheme has brought you some pretty good luck here. A first place last week, a second place here tonight. Best of luck here down the remainder of this season. Of course, next week in the elimination race for this round of 13 in preparation for the round of 8. Chuck, before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, first off, I need to thank Rodney for that awesome paint. He put some magic sprinkles in it, and uh, as of right now, the worst it's done is second place. That's pretty good. All the admins here at RTG, Josh and Bones, and all the guys that help keep it running. Tim, Brian, and Mark for being my teammates and helping me out. I didn't forgot to thank Tim last week. He really helped me. All my friends and family watching, and all my work buddies at Marshall County Schools.
Chuck McClure, second place here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway in the first race of the playoffs. Congratulations on the good start here, and best of luck next week in the elimination race.
Appreciate it, guys.
Let's see if we can now
User
go
was
down
moved
to
out of your
victory
channel.
lane, see if we can dial up the driver, the number 24,
User was
Joe
moved to your
DeSpirito. Joe,
channel.
Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, I got you. How you doing?
I'm running out of things to ask you. I tell you what, we have followed you the entirety of this season. You're the only driver to have scored top fives in every single regular season race, and you continue on that momentum here in the playoffs. You're locked into the round of 8 with this victory here tonight. Going in, did you expect you were going to have a season like this?
No, of course not. I don't know, man. It's just they keep saying it's 2024, but ever since I missed the playoffs, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, I just started driving different, man. I just kind of took all the pressure out of it and let loose, and just tried to have fun. And ever since then, the results have been pretty good. So yeah, it's been awesome.
The interesting thing about it too, as well, when I remember you being on streaks like this a few seasons ago, you were up front pretty much the entirety of the race. It almost looks like, as you say, you've kind of uh, adapted a new type of strategy, we don't necessarily see you up at the front in the first half of the race. It's when the pay window is open around the 15 to 20 to go mark. That's when we start to see the 24 making your way forward and eventually up at the front in the closing stages. Is that what the kind of strategy that you're adapting here, or is it just the way things have worked out?
It's just the way they changed the rules. Used to qualify, you know, top three most nights, and I'd be up there, just because of that most of the night. And they changed that, so yeah, I had to change my strategy and be a little more cautious and see how things turn out throughout the race, and then decide what I want to do instead of just doing my old rinse and repeat style. Like, I can't do that anymore, so I just had to adapt. And yeah, it's just been working out. Just being very cautious and staying on the bottom when I think a wreck is going to happen, and just feeling out the drivers and seeing who's around me, and just more analyzing than anything instead of mashing the gas.
Now, you won the regular season championship, garnered those bonus points when the playoff standings were reformatted. Ironically or not ironically, came into this first playoff race 24 points ahead of the eighth in the standings cut line area that everybody's going to be trying to stay just above at the end of next week's elimination race. But with the win here tonight, you're now locked into the next round. So, what do you do next week when we head to BSR?
Yeah, I've got teammates, that'll be looking out for, and if that doesn't work out, of course, trying to get more bonus points with a win. But it's I got my guys that we all work together, and it wasn't just me tonight. I had help from my guys telling me what was going on around me, so I want to thank them too.
Well, mixing things up in terms of your strategy this season has certainly worked out. Mixing things up in terms of your victory celebration as well. I don't know if we feel like maybe we're gonna coin it the Polish victory burnout there with that backwards burnout. I don't know. What do you think?
No, we'll call it the Italian burnout. How about
Ah,
that?
there you go. There
Yeah,
you
Italian
go.
stallion burnout. Yep.
There you go. Copyright that. Send that into the Library of Congress. The Italian burnout. I love it. Well, Joe, unbelievable season you have been on here. It continues on in the playoffs. Best of luck next week. Obviously, best of luck into that round of 8. Cannot wait to see if this top 5 streak continues on. It's been maybe one of the most fun storylines here of season 61. Let's give you the opportunity here down in Victory Lane to do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Thanks, Seth. Of course, I want to thank RTG. Josh doing a great job on Thursday nights adminning. And thank you guys at FRN, Seth, Mike, doing a great job. Love watching the replays. Jason Sheck, 260 Motorsports, Race LM for sponsoring us the last season and this season. My guys at Mobs Motors. Of course, my sponsors, OldCityFlyShop.com, Able Reels, and I want to thank everybody watching. My dad, Uncle Travis, Paul at Stewart Haas, LC, Dan, and all my work buddies. Yeah, buddy.
Well, Joe DeSpirito, he knows he's moving on to the round of 8, regardless of what happens next week at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, because he picks up his second win on the season here tonight in playoff race number 1 at Talladega Superspeedway. Congratulations once again. Go and enjoy this celebration, and we'll hopefully talk to you next week, or at least during the round of 8.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Joe DeSpirito with another
User was
big
moved out of your
victory.
channel.
Michael, what do you think? You're a resident Italian. The Italian burnout, does that get a seal of approval from you?
Yes, yes, it does.
All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna coin that. If we see DeSpirito do that anymore, we'll know what to call it. But an Italian burnout tonight for Joe DeSpirito. He knows he's moving on to the next round. 7 drivers still have spots up for grabs, and it all culminates next week when we head to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. 8 will be moving on, 5 will be eliminated. Going to be interesting here during the course of this week to see what the point scenarios are and get that preparation for who's going to maybe be in a must-win situation, who's just going to need to have a good day, and what kind of a points cushion other drivers will have above that 8th in the standings cut line. But thank you all for tuning into our coverage here tonight from Talladega Super Speedway. We were trending before with having long green flag runs, and little to no cautions. Now we've ended up having back-to-back races where we've had a shootout at the finish. So you got to stick around for the end of these things. You never know what's going to happen. If you guys enjoyed this race, be sure to continue to join us here for the remainder of the playoffs. Next week, first elimination race here for the Talladega Challenge drivers in playoff race number 2. And again, also tune in tomorrow night as we will be bringing you dual coverage along with split-second broadcasting on Twitch. FRN's got the call over here on YouTube for races 5 and 6, the Dega Duels for the Upper Edge Racing Body Shop Super Speedway Series. Michael, a crazy one here tonight. Did we expect any less to start off the playoffs? Joe DeSpirito locking himself into the next round. He has now had 9 straight top 5 finishes in a super speedway series. That is unheard of, folks. But Michael, a great way to kick off these playoffs. Cannot wait till next week, and appreciate you joining me up here in the booth.
No problem, Seth. Glad I can actually be here this time, and always fun. And it didn't really expect anything less from these drivers.
Absolutely. Also appreciate you sharing your pizza with me. That was very gentlemanly of you.
Yeah, you got the part that fell on the floor, so it's okay.
You know, pizza on the floor is still pizza. Still tastes like pizza. But thank you again, everybody, for tuning in to tonight's race, and we will see you guys next week for the continuation of Season 61's playoffs for the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. For Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night as you've been watching the broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
All 1 hour and 20 minutes of it.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support